Alrighty, episode 6 of anime for Trashdwellers, and this week I'm going to be talking about a recently finished new anime. Finished in the summer 2020 season. No, finished in the spring 2020 season, sorry. So that's exciting. I'm going to be talking about A3, the spring Troupe arc of that anime. Alrighty, A3. Its full title, Addict, Actors. Okay, two of those words are practically the same thing, but whatever. Anyway, it starts with a kid reciting Shakespeare. What? Hang on. Are you telling me that this anime with the word act and actors in the title is actually about acting for realsies? Oh wow, this is so amazing. As I was saying, it starts with a kid reciting Shakespeare by a river. Yes. Instead of him just hanging out quietly or confessing his love like kids usually do by the anime river, this kid is reciting Shakespeare in a public place where passers can hear him. One even goes, "Oh gosh, isn't that a bit cute, love?" I don't think that's what I'd be thinking if I was walking home in the late afternoon and came across some shitty high schooler reciting Shakespeare. But hey, it's a lot nicer than that stop, you have no talent guy. Then he rushes off for his performance in some acting district of Tokyo. I am 100% sure this is the legitimate name of the actual acting world district, but I'm not that privy to the Japanese acting world, and I have no excuse not to be. The only musical Taemin has been in so far was a Japanese one. He had a nice song, he had to pretend to hide an erection, but yeah, I should know where it was performed, which I'm sure would have been in this district, so my bad. But yeah, he gets there and he sees a street performance of these two teenagers, one pretending that the other hid his illness diagnosis. Man, wouldn't it be awkward if that were a real conversation, that a whole crowd had just come to watch and then applaud, and the guy's like, "No, serious, I'm bleeding out of my asshole, it's pretty concerning." A kid goes up to the duo and asks if he can join their troupe, whilst our Shakespeare kid just fucking jumps straight in with the, "Nah, join mine instead." Sneaky little poaching going on here. We are then shown the said theatre without that kid. If only actual animal poachers were as bad as this guy. Andy Warhol is gonna tear it down. Well, the sign. Just the sign. He's gonna tear the sign down and turn it into a bar because it has debts, because it is one of the few theatres that doesn't rent its space out for other performers to use. Instead, it has its own 4 troupes who use the theatre all year round. Except instead of 4 troupes, they have none. Just our little Shakespeare lover who only joined up yesterday. Jeez, it's unreasonable to shut the theatre down. Boo. All they had to do was rent it out a bit more often and they'd probably be able to grow their troupes from there. But we do get an enduring performance by this main kid, and his performance is basically just him shouting his lines awkwardly. And as soon as he has finished, Andy Warhol "We're tearing down that sign!" And our protagonist is here, and she has about more personality than anyone else in the show. It's just insane. So she goes, "But how can you shut this theatre down when this kid is trying so hard?" And Andy Warhol's like, "Oh nah, sweetie, this isn't an idol anime. That hard work bullshit ain't gonna cut it." Now, Personality-chan's dad ran the theatre, but then 8 years ago he did a runner and this bitch hasn't even seen him since then, so she kind of just takes control and goes, "Yeah, well, I know at least 2 people who totally want to join, right now." And as Andy Warhol tells her she has until sunset to get these 2, he leaves whilst muttering to himself all coolly, with one of those sly smiles on his faces. "Man, she's a bad actor." Whilst Personality-chan, main boy, and the useless current head of the theatre who racked up the massive debt are running around town desperately trying to find 2 losers to join their loser theatre company, and the deputy goes, "You lied!" And Personality-chan responds, "No, I was acting." I mean, she's not wrong. They decide to get more people to join the troupe via introducing the main boy to the public. And Personality-chan is given the basic job of asking him questions on the spot, and her acting level is so low she can't even do that. Meanwhile, main boy introduces his special skill as always remembering a person's name and face. I think when you're that young, that's just something you can do. It's only when you get older and your ability to function fades gradually each day that it's considered a skill set. And usually people who are bad at recognizing faces don't have the right neural pathways in order to do it. So if anything, that just means you have an average, normally functioning brain. Congratulations. This terrible kerfuffle does attract the attention of this one kid, who at the start of the show did glance at Main Boy's very public rehearsal. He's up on a little road bridge. Now when he realizes that the troupe noticed him, he blushes, and it was so cute. But then you realize it wasn't because he was embarrassed about the troupe members seeing that he was interested in them and acting, but because he thought personality charm was hot. So he fucking parkours off that bridge and is like, I did it for the nookie! Then he does a Q&A to entice people in, and it's much better. This is so satisfying. It's just painful to watch when there's a performance that's supposed to be good and one that's supposed to be bad, and you can't tell which is which because they're both terrible. Even though this guy brings in a whole mob of fangirls, not one of them signs up for the troupe. Really? So they're still running around like headless chickens, and then Main Boy sees the kid he tried to poach before and runs after him shouting, I recognize him because it's my special skill! Oh, so that's why the writers put it in. It was set up for later. It's nice they tried, but it's pretty believable that this guy would recognize a person he did talk to earlier on in the day. I don't think he needed to necessarily have it as his special skill to make that interaction work. And he trips, and that kid's heading for the train station. He's not gonna make it in time. But what falls at his feet but a flyer? A flyer for a rendition of As You Like It by Shakespeare. And thus he is inspired to do the only thing he can do in this situation. He recites Shakespeare, the All the World's a Stage monologue, the one he just happened to be practicing by the river. See, writers, this is a bit of an ex machina moment. This is where you could have set up that this kid was going to see this particular play later, and hence why he decided to learn it. But during his recital, the kid he's after stops and goes, Is that Shakespeare? And then he starts walking towards him and reciting the same monologue along with him. I can't. I don't think I've ever watched an anime before and felt so much embarrassment for what was happening on screen. The rest of the gang run over and they're like, will you join our troupe? And this kid's like, maybe, but I prefer to write scripts and I need a theater to have a dorm. And the stressed out troupe just cut him off like, yeah, whatever, you can have whatever you want, just fucking join our troupe! And he does, and Personality Chan goes up to Andy Warhol, see, we did it, now you can leave us alone. And Andy Warhol's like, oh, no, bitch, here are like 10 other things you have to complete before I'll leave you alone. Jeez, it's almost like he's the villain who hands out the tasks you need to perform in the original app game or something. App ends with them getting the task of putting on a play in a month. Episode 2, the opening song, they sing the lyrics, Act! Addict! Actors! I love it. Scripture Chan calling up his family of like 50 siblings to let them know he's abandoning them to follow his dreams. The gross Falling Down Theatre does indeed have shared accommodation that doesn't look amazing, but definitely looks too good for a theatre company that's drowning in debt. And in this, Personality Chan has to actually get permission from the kids' parents in order for them to stay at the accommodation. Take that, every other anime where the kid just go on a fucking school trip and training camps at the drop of a hat. Mind you, by permission, she means calling them up and seeing if it's okay, or just leaving a voicemail. Still not a single sign of a signed permission slip. When she calls up Main Boy's guardians who don't give a crap, they ask, does it costs money? Oh, this subtitler really didn't care. They were probably holding out to translate the latest season of My Hero Aka and got this rubbish instead. The kid who wants to fuck her is like, I'm asleep in your room. And when she calls up his parents, he's like, I can't believe you're already meeting my parents after we've been dating for such a short time. They decide to do more on-the-street acting to entice people in. And who runs in but our foreign character, my favorite. This guy is in full-on childish Aladdin-style Middle Eastern gear and wearing a head wrap like women traditionally wear in those countries and not, men like this guy. So wow, this holds a record for the most offensive foreign character in this style of show. Still not as bad as your standard big buff black man that has one line in English, but still. He said he came here to the city of theatre. What? What about London or even Broadway? The only scripted theatre this anime has quoted so far is Shakespeare, and yet they still have the gall to say Tokyo's the city of theatres and not London where Shakespeare is from. So he's hired. Then one of these stupid kids runs into a businessman and he's like, yo, I'm in. They look through some of the old plays that the Spring Troupe have performed, and lo and behold, there is Romeo and Juliet, which Personality-chan states they can't do because cross-dressing just wouldn't work for this troupe. What do you mean it wouldn't work? It's a fucking anime series. A staple of an anime series is that if there is a play, then a main male character must cross-dress because it's cute. Scripter-chan has decided that he will write the script for the show, which he writes and he writes Romeo and Julio, a male Juliet, but as Personality-chan puts it, it's been changed to be about friendship instead of romance because with the new lead, it's more appropriate. What is this homophobic rubbish? You're trying to tell me Romeo knocked himself off because he thinks his bro killed himself? How the fuck does that work? Man, I have to see this terrible script in action. Oh yeah, and the foreign guy's funny quirk is that he gets English sayings muddled up. Like Japan is some of the lowest levels of English as a second language proficiency. Making the guy from another country the one with poor English is a joke. And then when he complains that he doesn't have many lines, the scripter's like, yeah, that's on purpose. You racist fuck. Romeo is going to be played by the main boy, aka the canonically worst actor in the troupe. And then the episode ends with Personality-chan walking into the businessman's room to find it a mess and him shouting at her because she made him lose his video game? This episode made me so angry. Ugh. Hopefully next episode isn't as much of a strain on my arteries. Episode 3, and it starts right back where it left off, so far it's doing a terrible job of not getting me mad. We had to watch a read-through of the play. The foreign guy complains that he only has 5 lines, and we get to see 2 of them in action during the read-through. Ooh! And oh my god! I have an inkling that oh my god wasn't the most common catchphrase you'd hear in Shakespearean times. Look, this foreign guy is a prince, so I'm just gonna call him Prince Chan since just calling him that fucking gaijin is racist. The one that wants to fuck the director choose the main boy out because he keeps stopping and starting when he reads his lines. Hey, doing 2 things at once is hard for dumb people like him and me. And you learn everyone's lines and so prompts them when they get their own lines wrong because that's not the incredibly frustrating or condescending. Everyone's like, geez, that kid is so mean. And then they're like, maybe he's just trying to help us. There is a word for this. It's called constructive criticism. And though it can be fairly passive aggressive, you can deliver it without being a complete jerk. Anyway, Prince Chan reckons he's just a tsundere and the script are like, no, he's just an asshole. They decide in order to get better at their performances, they're going to start rehearsal earlier in the morning and they go and they tell the gamer guy. But not the kid who has the hots for the director. Apparently he doesn't have to be told this. I mean, it's almost like they're only going out of their way to see the gamer at nighttime to discover that he's a gamer. Which they do! And he doesn't get mad at them and shove them against a wall, which we're supposed to believe is because their knocking didn't make him lose his game. Like bullshit it is. Then Prince Chan's like, he was level 124 in that game. He's definitely addicted. So he's the addict in Act. Addict. Actors. And Scripter-chan replies, well, you must be too if you knew he was. Look here, you little shithead. I don't even play video games, but even I know that if you're over level 100 in a game, you've put a lot of hours into it. We watch them read lines one last time and main boy actually reads them better than before. Oh my god, this character development is beautiful. They move on to blocking and it's still jilted and awkward. Like, they'll say a line, then move to face the audience, then deliver the next lines. So Personality-chan comes up with a generally great idea to invite a member from the original troupe over to check him out. And he rips right into them, starting with Prince Chan saying how since he doesn't know Japanese well enough, he isn't delivering his lines properly. 2 of his lines are ooh and ah. Oh my god. Like, how the fuck is his kid getting those lines wrong, Mr. Racist? Scripted-chan reads his lines like he's an accountant. Gamer just doesn't give a shit. Main boy just fucking shit at acting. And the other kid too busy perving on the director to get any good work done. Then he says, "This is theatre, punks!" Yes, there is nothing more punk rock than going on stage with your face caked in makeup whilst acting out a butchered Shakespeare adaptation. What I know about this play so far, since we keep just seeing them read the final lines of the play, is that Romeo and Julius leave town to see the world. Excuse me? How is this anything like the original? You're supposed to die! Where is the death? You can't just survive the play. That's not how this play works. Also, I did call it Romeo and Julio before, but unfortunately it is the much less cute couple name of Romeo and Julius. Main boy decides in order to understand the theatre better, he must sleep on the drafty, freezing stage with its hard boards. It seems like a great idea. And it is, because everyone joins for a sleepover. And then they do pillow talk. Do you think that raving lunatic who came shouting in everyone's faces was mean? Maybe he's just trying to help us. You've already been through what constructive criticism is this episode. Why are you repeating the same plot point twice within the one episode? Then, I think it's the gamer guy, I can't remember everyone's actual names in this, calls Personality-chan and decides to quit. So this episode was still aggravating, but not to the extent that it caused me to foam at the mouth. So that's good. That's improvement. Episode 4, or should I say, welcome to episode 4, because there was roughly a 3-month break since I last watched this episode. Since this anime was ahead of its time, resources most of its animation out of China, and went into delay all from COVID back in January, and now, where I'm watching and writing this down, which is here in May, it has finally returned for now. Goodness knows how long it'll last. It starts with everyone being introduced to their set and costume designer. Set designer doesn't talk, which is a poor representation. Set designers just don't talk as much as actors who talk a lot more than a normal person would. The costume designer is some 15-year-old in a dress who gets real mad when you call him a girl. Having a 15-year-old make costumes for everyone is pretty sad, but his dress looks pretty complicated. So hey, that shows a lot of skill set if he actually made it. After that is when the gamer guy decides to tell everyone he's leaving because he feels he just doesn't love theatre as much as others. Reminder, he is competing with Main Boy and Scripted-chan, who can recite Shakespeare from memory, aka insane people, so he most likely has an adequate level of passion for it. And when Game is discussing how everyone else is here because they're actually passionate about theatre unlike him, oh nah, Prince Chan does that mean bear stress die thing. And he's completely forgetting about the kid who's only here because he wants to bone the director. Like, in comparison, free accommodation sounds reasonable. Prince Chan and Personality-chan go out shopping together, but oh no, then he's got to quickly sneak her into a dark alleyway because he's being followed. He then confesses to her that, yeah, he's not an exchange student. He was forced to leave his home country. Coming to Japan for asylum is so weird because Japan doesn't actually accept refugees. Just having this plot point in an anime is bizarre enough. Like, are you trying to get a political agenda going? Or did the writers just think it was a cute plot point to put in without thinking, hey, our country doesn't actually do that nice thing? Not that Australia has a great record with treatment of refugees either. What with the UN describing the Christmas Island detention centre as human torture, I'm not really of the right nationality to criticise here. So yeah, now Personality-chan realises she's housing a fugitive. Oh, what fun times. Then he kneels and kisses her hand and said it's a customary way of saying thanks from where he's from. Oh yeah, from fictional Arabian nation. Cool. Love the specificity and research that went into portraying Prince Chan's culture accurately and respectfully. The next day, Gamer's off in his suit to play video games again, even though everyone knows he's just off to play video games, so I don't know why he's still trying to keep that facade alive. The others decide to convince him to stay, via acting out that he's a drop-beat dad trying to go out for cigarettes. No, oh my god, they're doing that to convince him to stay? If that were me, I'd be the fuck out of there. There is improv and there is cringe prov. Learn the difference, people. Anyway, it works somehow. Gamer says he'll stay until their Romeo and no homo Julio play is done. We get another brief run through of the same last 4 lines we had in the previous episode. I had not watched this show in 3 months, but I still remembered it ending with them heading out into the wide world and not dying. Did forget the name switch. I was sitting there for a while like, who the fuck is Julius? He's Romeo's brother or some shit? After that run through, their mean acting coach is like, hey, that was good. You've suspiciously improved in a short amount of time. Almost as if it's needed for plot or something. Personality Chan's only thought is, wow, Prince Chan, your pronunciation is so much better. Wow, thanks for the condescending and racist advice. But then the acting coach thinks the climax is a bit flat. I guess because, no one dies. We still haven't been shown this script in its entirety. I don't even know if there's any conflict for the climax to rise from. Anyway, he reckons the only thing needed to improve the script isn't a complete overhaul, but instead just to add a sword fight at the end. Main boy over practicing for the sword fight and getting real tired. Personality Chan finds him still rehearsing late into the night and she's actually shouting at him and telling him what to do. I have never, in any idol anime or harem anime, seen a main girl shout. That was a beautiful moment. But at the same time, in idol anime, their role is to be in charge of these idols. And frankly, they do a terrible job at it. Good for this one anime to actually decide to make their heroine competent at her job. She tells main boy not to show up to early morning rehearsal and just to turn up to the Avo rehearsal. And what does he do? So she tells him once again, hey, stop that. And he like, nah. And she like, hey, stop that. And he like, nah. So Personality Chan realizes a different strategy is needed. So she says, fine, we'll cut the sword fight. And he's like, nah. And the one who wants to fuck the director, hey, in the short span of 3 months, a new, more accurate word has been created to describe this kid. Simp. So this simp says, wouldn't it be better if we had someone else play Romeo? And main boy very passionately bows and shouts that he won't give up the role in that very shonen protag, I won't give up vein, but about a role in a play. It feels melodramatic, but this is theatre, so maybe that's a normal reaction from a theatre person. So Personality Chan's like, alright, but stop it. And he's like, okay. So basically Personality Chan didn't change anything and still won the argument. I don't know if it's because she's a genius or because main boy's an idiot. Later that evening, Personality Chan's sitting up talking to main boy, where he says that he's always fails in life because no matter how hard he tries, he can't get his foster families to accept him. Excuse me? This is where you're supposed to show a cute montage of him as a kid, like falling over and shit, not hit us with the deep stuff. Fucking hell, is this kid okay? Is he getting any therapy? Because fuck, I think he needs it. Sim Chan and Prince Chan overheard, and Prince Chan's like, oh, back in my homeland, you'd be punished severely for eavesdropping. And that oppressive nation is where exactly? Come on, name drop some dodgy government, why don't ya? Episode 5. Since the current website for the theatre is some shit whipped up in the 90s, they need to hire a graphic designer. Good thing Scripted-chan just happens to know one who's a cute bishy and is super happy and excited to help them out. When he comes to the theatre, he leaps onto the stage sparkling, and main boy has them watery romance eyes like, you gonna fall in love with this guy who just entered the room? Cool, man, no judging, but maybe get to know him a bit better first. Also, when they're looking at the old website, Prince Chan's like, oh, if this website was in my country, you'd be in big trouble for that. Last time I checked, oppressive governments are too busy oppressing people to be too worried about the advancement of technology. Something I should have picked up on last week but only connected the dots for this week. The sword fight is between Romeo and Julius? So they have a sword fight and then go and travel the world together. What the fuck is the sword fight for? / Romeo and Juliet would have been so much more interesting if they dueled and Romeo just fucking shish kebabs his 16-year-old lover. The little cross-dressing kid, or as I like to call him, Simi Boy, brings in the outfits. 3 of them are these huge gaudy things. Then Prince Chan gets a sexy priest outfit and Gamer Bro gets a sexy pirate outfit. I'm sure he's not supposed to be a pirate, but that's what it looks like. Gamer Bro it's a bit tight around the waist. Could it be loosened? And Simi Boy lose weight. Which sounds mean, but I've definitely seen amateur costume ladies with that attitude. This week we get to see the highly romantic balcony scene. Except that it isn't romantic. You get the Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? And then instead Romeo's telling Julius to come and see the world with him. Personally, I would have preferred if it stuck to the original and you just invite him to come and see your dick instead. And Julius can't go see the world due to his family, but Simchan keeps delivering that line emotionlessly. So Personality Chan asks him to put a bit more emotion to his performance, imagining his own family, and there, up on this little platform, he says, I don't have much family. And he's standing there like he's about to go into a 5-minute long monologue about his abusive family, but thank God he doesn't. I don't know why this line was missed when the acting coach was in. I guess because they needed more drama later on or something. Now that they have the new flyers, they go hand them out, and Main Boy and Shim-chan decide to perform their balcony scene, and the street just happened to be filled with teenage girls and young women commenting, ooh, it's Romeo and Juliet. But one of them's a guy. Isn't it supposed to be a romantic story? We'll take all of your flyers! Now, that is just false advertising. There better be a big no homo version disclaimer on those flyers. Who also comes along but 2 handsome bishies who get a line each when grabbing a flyer. So, I wonder who will be in the next cast. I think this show works that there's 1 set of actors or 2 set of actors per season. And all 4 are getting an anime, so I am pumped for this. And then it's Gamer Bro at work? Hang on a second. I thought all the drama about him playing video games was because he was playing video games instead of going to a real job. But what it actually was that he just said his gaming time was also work time when it wasn't and was missing out on rehearsals as a result. Look, honestly, if he works a real job and wants to play games in his spare time, then that's fine. Why was there such a problem with that? And honestly, if it was late at night and he's like, well, I better go off to work, then that's when you guys were being dumb enough to believe that stupid lie. I think their acting coach gets them a slot on a What's Around Town TV spot. It's just with a normal newsreader and not some cute idol, so it's all shit. But yeah, everyone's really stiff on TV despite the fact that they're all aspiring actors except for Gamer Bro because he's an adult with adult responsibilities who, to advertise the show, just says, the cast is all hot guys, so ladies, hit our theater up. And Prince Chan's pretty good too, but they don't let him say much because they think his Japanese is bad when it's fine. Sim-chan helps Personality Chan run some errands late in the afternoon whilst it's raining, and she's talking to him about that one line he can't get right and asks him why he's acting, and he's like, I think I may have already mentioned I'm only here because I'm simping you. And she reckons he needs more motivation than that. Lady, half of Hollywood's only there for the paycheck. Him being there just to bone you is enough. Then these 2 high school girls who know Sim-chan come along and start bullying Personality Chan, aka an adult. Fuck me, how much sass have you gotta have to bully an adult? If it was a group of like 3 teenage boys or more, maybe. But 2 teenage girls, fuck off, they'd be terrified of her. So they call her an old hag. This doesn't really hit home with the audience since Personality Chan doesn't look any older than the teenager she's directing. Then they accuse her of running a theater just so she can get close to Sim-chan. Oh my god, bitch is in her 20s and was dedicated to running this theater before she even met Sim-chan. Well, Sim-chan's had enough of them dissing his girl, so he goes in to slap them, but Personality-chan jumps in front of them and takes it instead. Sim-chan is devastated that he hit her, and that she also was just like, now Simpy, you gotta find more motivation for acting than just my pussy, instead of falling madly in love with him, a smelly 14-year-old. The boys all come together to find out why Sim-chan's so mad and to help him out. They give him the courage to go back and speak to Personality-chan. Now, before she asks people as homework to have a favourite actor, and when she was giving him advice before, she told him to say the line like his favourite actor would. And he confesses that his favourite actor is her, that her earnest acting is why he joined the company. And she's like, oh Jesus, that's why you can't get that line right. It's a miracle your acting isn't worse. Then just as he's about to kiss her, Mean Boy in to save the day. Thanks, Mean Boy. And Sim-chan calls Mean Boy by his first name and can now get his line right because he's friends with Mean Boy. So I guess the secret to acting is having friends. And they end the ep with the start of the dress rehearsal. Okay, now that it's the dress rehearsal, surely we get to see the play next ep. Surely! Episode 6, and yes, it is here! The episode we have all been waiting for, the episode of the play. It does cut and skip a bit, but that's fine, it covers the main plot. It starts with Romeo going to ask his love, Rosalind, to the ball. Which in the original play, he takes old Rosa to the ball just to switch her out for the younger 16-year-old model Juliet. He's going to do so with a bouquet of flowers with that pink paper wrapped around it that I don't think existed back in Shakespearean time. But oh no, Julius is also asking Rosalind out to the ball. She turns them both down and they become good friends and talk about traveling the world together. Then the beautiful dramatic scene where Julius goes, Romeo, you never told me you were a Montague. Julius, you never told me you were a filthy Capulet betrayer. See, this doesn't happen in the original because the family feud and who's who is introduced earlier on because it's very important to the plot. Next scene, Mercutio and Tybalt fight to keep Romeo and Julius apart. They are literally holding the two back as they shout, Romeo! Julius! And reach out to hold one another's hands. Yeah, fuck off, they're just friends. So Mercutio, whatever, I don't know Shakespeare names. He injures Tybalt and Romeo takes revenge and injures him. Then confesses for his crimes and is being sent to the gallows for hurting someone? He didn't even kill anyone. I think they even heal up pretty quick afterwards. Man, it's almost like the script was written by a complete amateur or something. But before Romeo is hung, he has a sword fight with Julius. Then Julius gives him the fake poison. See, this time round they're both in on the poison. Then they both take it, survive, and fuck off. What a lame story. Though they do happily inform us that there's different twists each time round. Oh goody. Does one of those twists involve Romeo and Julius actually being gay for one another? Or at least one death? In the audience, we see the upcomers for the summer trip, and one of them is just with like 6 boys. Like, fucking hell. How high are your babysitting expenses you can afford to take the whole family along? Plus, what 10-year-old boy would sit there and enjoy this garbage? We hear some Fujoshi afterwards talking about going to multiple shows. So this theatre is like idol culture, where it's not really all that successful, but it has enough diehard fans going multiple times to make all that sweet dosh. Because like I said before, Taemin and tons of other idols perform in plays and musicals, and I know fans go to see them. But I don't know if it's normal for them to go watch those plays multiple times. More drama, guys. Gamer Bro injures his ankle, but he isn't telling anyone about it, except Prince Chan. I guess because he assumes his Japanese isn't strong enough for him to dob on him. And then on closing night, his ankle plays up, as in, he doesn't fall down when he's supposed to, and a quick bit of ad-libbing fixes it. Personality Chan was thinking of lowering the goddamn curtain because of it. Like, girl, calm down. When she sees Main Boy ad-lib, she thinks to herself, the show must go on! Like, what he did was a smart, cool anime move as opposed to, you know, something pretty basic when it comes to theatre. I'm sorry, but your Chekhov's ankle is supposed to make you practically immobile and unable to stand, not a mild twinge that prevents you from fake falling on cue. Andy Warhol comes back to remind us of the actual plot, and since they sold out closing night, the theatre won't get torn down. Yet they still gotta have another 3 seasonal troupes succeed. And that's it for this episode of Anime for Trashdwellers. Next episode, I will be continuing on talking about the summer troupe arc of the anime, so stay tuned for that.